Welcome back to another Monday Night Sports Show, Rams. I'm Rachel Hallam.
And I'm Ethan Bird, filling in for Erica Johnson on desk tonight. Tonight on CTV Sports, we break down CSU's big win over Wyoming last Thursday.
Bird's Eye View turns into a film room to look at how Dante, Wright, and Trey, McBride continue to spark the Rams on offense.
CSU's men's cross-country team just received some hardware and continue to rise up in the ranks.
And as always, we'll duke it out in tonight's CTV Sports Pick'em Challenge. Make sure to stick around because all of this and more is on CTV Sports starting right now. For the first time since 2015, the Border Wars Bronze Boots Trophy is coming home to Fort Collins after CSU's 34-24 victory over hated rival Wyoming in their 112th Border War matchup this past Thursday. While there were no fans in the stands to enjoy the excitement that the Rams felt in their first home victory of the season, CSU football now has a trophy to hang on to and admire until their 2021 contest up in Laramie in what will be their 113th Border War. Now looking back on the game, the biggest difference that helped catapult the Rams to victory was the outstanding effort of their defense, which started hot and ready right out the gate. And when I say right out the gate, I mean it. On their first possession of the game, Wyoming quarterback Levi Williams gets picked off right here by Marshawn Cameron, who's going to take it all the way to the back of the end zone for a pick six for the first points of the game. CSU up 7-0 to start off.
And after CSU's first offensive possession proved fruitless, this wasn't fruitless. Levi Williams gets gobbled up by the defensive line, and out comes a football. Manny Jones with the recovery. He said, nom, 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 that's my football. Very yummy. Possession Rams.
And a touchdown possession play right here. Patrick O'Brien to Trey McBride for a 29-yard touchdown. Rams are going to go up 14-0 to end the first quarter.
Cowboys are knocking on the door about the 14-yard line, and to Trey Smith, the ball goes. He just walked right into that end zone as if it was an open door, celebrating the first score for the Cowboys on the night.
Rams special teams comes up clutch right here after a botched snap on a punt by the Cowboys. Rams are going to get it, give Patrick O'Brien a great position.
Speaking of Patrick, and he's got the ball, play action down the field. Who's that? That's a big man, Trey McBride. And no, that's not a belt around his waist. That's a man. But Trey is just way too big, takes it into the end zone.
And while the Rams pretty much had the game in the bag by the end of the fourth quarter, Wyoming definitely made the rivalry matchup interesting, showing no quit after a rocky start and an early 14-0 deficit. The game stats tell a totally different story than the final score that favored the guys from Fort Collins. The Cowboys finished the game with 465 total yards, more than 100 over what the Rams offense ended up with, including 324 passing yards and 144 rushing yards. In only his fourth ever start, redshirt freshman quarterback Levi Williams completed 19 of 31 passes for 321 yards, had an interception, but also added a rushing score on a quarterback sneak midway through the fourth quarter.
Now, looking at the other contributors for the Pokes, running back Xavier Valladay stomped on the Rams defense with 28 carries for 147 yards and 1 touchdown. And wide receiver Aiden Eberhardt stood out as their main receiving option, going off for 7 receptions and 132 yards. Even though it seemed Wyoming's offensive pressure would be the downfall of the Rams, CSU's defense came in clutch and provided that desperately needed spark when it mattered most. Holding the Cowboys to only 4 of 15 on third down attempts, forcing and recovering 2 fumbles, and wreaking havoc on the Cowboys' backfield all night, with 6 sacks and 14 tackles for losses, and, of course, who could forget that critical pick six by defensive back Marshawn Cameron early in the first quarter, which got the ball rolling and quickly set the tone for this year's Border War.
After the game, it was pretty obvious to Ram fans that the CSU football squad was more than ecstatic to get their hands on the bronze boot and finally get that 4-year Wyoming nightmare off their backs. Improving to 1-1, the Rams must quickly shift their focus towards their upcoming match with the 2-1 Boise State Broncos this Thursday night in Boise. And while CSU came out victorious in 2020's iteration of the border war, not everything is sunshine and rainbows in Rams country on the recruiting trail. On Wednesday night, 3-star running back Patrick Smith of Absecon, New Jersey's Holy Spirit High School had a change in heart in his recruiting journey, decommitting from Colorado State after pledging to the program back in May. But as of November 4th, Smith announced he will no longer move to Colorado and has officially decommitted. The 5'11", 185-pound back is projected as a potential all-purpose threat at the college level. And in his senior season, Smith has already rushed for over 1,000 yards, averaging nearly 9 yards a carry in just 4 games. Since his decommitment to Colorado State, the talented back has received an offer from Vanderbilt University on October 30th. And as such, the Commodores appear to be the program that cooled off Smith's interest in CSU, now sitting as the frontrunner to land the New Jersey native. And in a recent interview with 247 Sports, Smith went through his reasoning behind the tough decision, noting the total package that the Vanderbilt football program provides in terms of both high-level academics and athletics, saying, "Academically, that's something that I also stress on, not just football. From an academic standpoint, it's a phenomenal school to be at. Besides football, that's what I was looking at as well." Now, additionally, Colorado is a good amount farther than Nashville, Tennessee, and being close to home for his family was another priority when it came to Smith's recruiting process. Although CSU's football program has lost a big commit, they still currently have 20 hard commits for the 2021 recruiting class and have plenty of time to find another running back recruit in the months to come to fill the void that losing Smith leaves behind.
Now moving from the gridiron and onto the track, Rams football isn't the only Colorado State program to bring home some hardware over this last week. While CSU cross country still hasn't started their outdoor season, they still have a bunch of excitement after participating in their first ever winter cross country season early in 2020 and ending off this inaugural year as conference champions. This past Saturday, the men's indoor track and field team received their Mountain West Championship rings at Jack Christensen Track, the home of outdoor track and field for CSU. As you can see, the conference champions were able to show off their new ice and pose with their trophy after their conference championship victory. The accolades don't stop there, though. In terms of outdoor competitions, the Rams cross-country team was ranked number 20 in the USTF CCCA coaches poll last week, despite having yet to race, improving from the number 23 spot with this recent success, both indoors and outdoors. The team has high hopes for the upcoming outdoor season as 7 of their 9 top runners from last year's second-place finish at the Mountain West Championships are slated to make their return. Looking at the other squads CSU is up against in the Mountain West region, an area full of some of the best cross-country programs the nation has to offer, including top-ranked Northern Arizona, BYU at number 2, in-state rivals CU at number 9, and Air Force at number 25. The next NCAA D1 men's cross-country national ranking comes out February 23rd, while the NCAA Division I cross-country championships are tentatively set for March 15th, 2021. Obviously on the rise, this pack of runners from Fort Collins hopes to be there, attempting to bring yet another piece of hardware back to Fort Collins.
Now, sprinting from CSU cross country and into some NFL action, to the dread of NFL fans, we've officially hit the halfway mark of the season. And losing the remaining gridiron goodness would just break the hearts of football fans everywhere, if that does happen at all. As of now, we will continue to heal those broken hearts and keep things positive. Without any more delay, our top 5 plays for Week 9 are here. And to start us off, we have the struggling Houston Texans. Quarterback Deshaun Watson has a pass to wide receiver Will Fuller, who smokes C.J. Henderson and takes it 77 yards to the house all by himself for 6 points to add to the Texans.
Saints Bucks, but that's not Drew Brees. That's Taysom Hill. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, whatever the heck you want to call him. Maybe a hurdler. Look at that. He says, "Oh, I am not underneath you. Nice try to tackle me. I'm above you." Gets down for, that's an extra 3 yards or so right there.
And at number 3, as much as it pains me to talk about this game, the heartbreaking loss to the Raiders, this was a fantastic play by Chargers receiver Mike Williams with the toe tap magic for a first down.
Now I know what you're thinking, ugh, Giants, but Daniel Jones decided to be Danny Dimes to Evan Ingram, completely outstretched for the tutty.
And at number 1 this week, we have the already struggling Dallas Cowboys going through players like it's nothing. But we're going to look at Cedric Wilson's pass all the way to the other side of the field to C.J. Goodwin on a punt return. Who's going to take it? Is he going to take it all the way to the house? It certainly looks like he is, but I think he got a little bit of the speed wobbles and trips over this last defender, lands on the 10-yard line, not enough to put up 6 on the board for the Cowboys. Now, I thought since we're always showing the top plays of the week and we're constantly looking for something to put a smile on our faces, especially through these troubling times, it was only fitting to show a not top play of the week and have a chuckle here and there. For our hilariously bad play of the week, look no further than the terrible NFC East. A pass from Kyle Allen just before he got injured, poor guy, to rookie Antonio Gibson, who has a fumble, but it looks like maybe they're going to recover it again. No, I don't think so. You can't see the ball. Oh, it pops up right again. And I think the Giants and the Redskins had about 20 times between each team to recover this fumble. But unfortunately for the Washington football team, they could not recover it, and they lost that. It just looks like a big game of hot potato between these two teams, and it definitely shows the sad-looking fight in the NFC East.
Well, I think you put it the best. There were 20 chances. There's 22 guys on the field, and just about all of them had a chance to get their hands on the ball. And I think what you notice most is there's just this embarrassing trend, including New York football teams and fumbles, often in the not top plays.
Yeah, well, I think it was, did they put like spit on the ball or something? It was just like slipping out of everybody's hands.
I mean, you might want to check some hands. Hopefully not spit. It is coronavirus season.
You should
I hope
learn
nobody
to,
is spitting
yeah,
out
well,
there.
you should be able to fall on a ball and recover it. I think that should be a big
You would
thing
hope so.
for. Yeah, well, I mean, look at Cam Newton. He can't do it anyway either, so.
No, he can't.
Oh, well. Well, that is all the time we have for our top and not so top plays for today. Ethan has a film breakdown for Bird's Eye View next. Coming up next.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But, here's the thing. Can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Can one piece of paper really tell you my whole story? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or how anytime there was an opportunity, I was the first one to step up. Because I wasn't gonna let my life, my circumstances dictate who I was gonna become. And all of that determination, commitment, drive, that's me. And that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent, like me.
Oh, no. How's it going, Rams? That was my little victory shimmy because I like to report on winning football, and the Border War is back at Fort Collins. This is Bird's Eye View. You know where it is, same time, same channel. You know the drill. Come on down and join me at my Magic TV. Call me John King. I've got a Magic TV. I enjoyed that. Now, if you had fallen asleep last Friday after CSU's loss to Fresno State and woke up Thursday evening during the Border War, you may have thought you had slept for years and CSU had a brand new offense. But in reality, it was the addition of Dante Wright, who missed last week due to COVID-19 protocols, and the sweet reconnection of Patrick O'Brien and tight end Trey McBride. Let's walk on through this, all right? So what I want you to look at, you got Dante Wright right here. He's going to come out, fake the curl, and go out towards the sideline. But Patrick O'Brien is going to show motion to his right and look to his left. And Dante Wright is just completely open, and he's shifty, so it's almost a 10-yard gain every single time. And now moving on, Dante Wright, but this time in motion to the right side. And Trey McBride, there he is right there. He's going to go for a go route to the right corner of the end zone. So with Dante Wright's motion, he brings the defense forward, opening up a lot of space for Trey McBride, and he's just going to walk it in basically untouched until he passes the pylon. And that's a big man. He's going to show off those muscles. I mean, I would too, but that's for another day to talk about. And now, so Dante Wright, screens, always screening. We always want Dante Wright on the screens. He's very dangerous, and you'll see why. Also, look at that offensive line protection. But off of the screen, another 10-yard gain for Dante Wright. It's like we're going to say this every time. Oh, guess what? Another screen for Dante Wright. But this time he's going to fake the go route and come back. But this is exactly what the Broncos should be doing with Phillip Lindsay and KJ Hamler. You've got a speedster who can break open in the open field. Why aren't you throwing screens, especially when you got blockers like that? And CSU's doing it perfectly, if you ask me. Now for this final play, Dante Wright in motion again. Trey McBride in that same spot. He's going to go for another go route, and the Pokes are going to fall for it. Again, they come forward. Patrick O'Brien, we already saw it. Trey McBride is going to muscle his way into the end zone. He said it in the postgame interview. I'm 6'4", 260. No one single defensive player should be able to take me down. But we're going to look at this again after the CBS. This one was shot by Rachel. It's just such a great shot. I wanted to watch it again. Trey McBride says, I'll take a touchdown for 43 yards. Shout out Alex Trebek. We miss you. Rest in peace to a legend. Now, I also wanted to take a look at this. Now, if you look at this, this was right after Notre Dame made the biggest comeback of the week, right after mail-in ballots. And you may think this was 2019, but you're wrong, considering all of those people on the field. And the fans just stormed the field, and coronavirus is going for about a 50-point triple-double in that crowd. And as disappointing as it is that fans are not permitted at Campus Stadium, this right here is exactly why. I mean, imagine if fans had been at the Border War game. It would have been a very similar scene to this. And this is simply the consequence of the NCAA refusing to take a collective front against the virus and letting conferences and schools decide their own attendance rules. If there are cases coming out of Notre Dame in the coming weeks, it is just as much of the fault of Notre Dame administration as it is NCAA leadership. Especially with the nation approaching the peak of the third wave of this pandemic, player safety needs to be of the utmost importance. Now, CSU made the correct choice, and I have no problem with any of us having to watch from home. And that is all the time that I have for now. Rachel and I will be duking it out in our Pick'em Challenge up next.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. It's been a while since I've been able to argue with Rachel on air, so without further ado, I'm excited. Let's get into our picks. The Titans and Colts will be going head-to-head on Thursday in a battle for the NFC South. Who comes out on top? Rachel.
Well, I am going to have to go with the Titans and their powerhouse offense right now that they have going on. And I'm going to start with talking about Derrick Henry because he is a big monster of a running back for the Titans. He is a huge asset for their offense. And last week, I will say, he had kind of a weak showing in their win against Chicago. He only had 68 yards, 0 touchdowns. And since week 3 until this past week, he has had at least 1 touchdown every single game. So for the Bears to contain Derrick Henry, that was a big difference for Tennessee's offense, but we're looking at Indianapolis's defense now. And last week against the Ravens, they didn't have any interceptions. They only had 2 sacks all game. But they're also the number 3 run defense in the league right now. And for Derrick Henry to go up against a line like that, it's going to be a little different, but He's stiff-arming left and right. He is one of the scariest running backs I have yet to see, and I think that he's going to be able to break down that line.
Well, Derrick Henry is absolutely due. I'm picking the Titans, of course. Derrick Henry is super due. He's had a tough past couple weeks, like you mentioned, but the true anime villain of football is not going to stay down for long. But also, I want to talk about Phillip Rivers. I know this is going to hurt a little bit.
I was waiting for this one.
I
was waiting for this one.
The old love of your life, Phillip Rivers.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, he's not the quarterback that he used to be, and this Indianapolis Colts offense struggled. I think in like the third quarter this week, they had 1 yard in a whole quarter. Like, I mean, give me a break. Philip Lindsay has 9 times as many kids as they did yards in that third quarter. And
you mean Phillip Rivers?
Now let's move into the Phillip Rivers. That's what I meant. Now let's move into the Titans defense. That's Desmond King taking in a 63-yard.
That one hurt.
63-yard fumble return.
That one hurt.
Tell him why.
Well, because the Chargers traded him literally days before this for only a pick in the draft. First of all, they got pretty much nothing out of this. And then Desmond King turns around and makes a huge play for his new team, which he doesn't do on the Chargers. But, you know.
Is it the difference of being on a better team? Is it some of that?
You know, I was waiting for the Phillip Rivers part of this. I was not ready for you to just trash the Chargers, considering we are talking about 2 separate teams and nothing to do with the Chargers. But as you said, Phillip Rivers is not the same quarterback as before. I kind of think he is the same quarterback as he has been. He has been in a decline for a long time, and it makes me really sad to say, but I do love the guy, and it's really hard to see my Chargers losing all the time, and to see him having a better record on the Colts than he did with the Chargers in a long time. But he is the same quarterback. He throws interceptions when it is the worst time to throw an interception, and he can't tackle. I mean, in that last game on the freaking run back from the defense, he trips over his own feet. If you have a quarterback that can't even run or scramble, which he cannot scramble, he's not going to be able to make much of a difference for this offense.
He got them stiff old man legs is what he's got.
I mean, having 9 kids and being that old is definitely going to make the difference. So, yeah.
Kids.
All right, well, now one of the biggest rivalry games in Colorado sports, the Broncos will be visiting the Las Vegas Raiders in their first visit to Allegiant Stadium. Can the Broncos pull off this upset, Ethan?
Well, now, you see, if you get to play the homer role every week, it's about darn time I do, too. We're going Broncos, baby. We're going Broncos. Now, if the Broncos, they play like a playoff team in the fourth quarter every single game. I mean, or the past 2 games at the very least. The past 2 games, the one that they beat the Chargers in, and then the one that they lost this week. I didn't mean that to be a...
No, I know.
That
it's okay.
Just,
Continue.
Just an example.
I know. It's okay.
But in the past 2 games, the Broncos are outscoring their opponents 42-12 in the fourth quarter. They've scored 21 points in their last 2 fourth quarters. That's 3 touchdowns
that's just so...
in the last 2 fourth quarters. And if you could play 4 straight games like that, I mean, 300... It's just ridiculous. 300, and they're averaging 350 yards a game. But the turnover margin is what needs to be fixed. In the Atlanta game, Drew Lock had a very pivotal interception there at the end of the game that led to the touchdown that led to the 7 points the Broncos lost by. Turnover margin, play like you're in the fourth quarter of the whole game, it could be a lock.
All right, well, I did not like picking this game whatsoever in the first place. AFC West has a lot of rivalries already, I will say that, but being a Chargers fan after losing to both of these teams the past 2 weeks, it is not a good sign for me, and it is not fun to be picking this game. But in the past 2 weeks, I have picked the Chargers, and it has been the downfall of my spread against Erica these past couple of weeks. So I guess I just have to pick this game, but I'm going to pick the Raiders in this one. I cannot pick the Broncos, and I know you have to pick them for your homer nonsense, whatever. But I have to pick it because I knew that I was going to be arguing against whichever person was here, whoever it was going to pick the Broncos no matter what. But I want to look at the Raiders' offense for this game because they're the ones that definitely made a difference in this Chargers game, the last game, although they did have a very clutch play with the last 2 seconds of the game, Chargers trying to get that win over the Raiders, but of course it was a heartbreaking loss because that is what the Chargers do all the time. But anyway, looking at the Raiders offense, like I said, Carr, he was 13 for 23 in the last game and with 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. You talk about the turnover margin. He had 0 interceptions, and that is big for the Raiders because if he is not giving away key plays and his defense is not coming back onto the field, that can be really key for their game and that could help them out a lot. And he has 2 very clutch running backs in his back line with him. He has Dante Booker, who got 68 yards for 8 carries last game, and Josh Jacobs, who had 65 yards for 8 carries as well. They're both getting enough touches on the ball. They're splitting it pretty evenly that they're getting a lot of reps, and I think that's what's working for the Raiders offense.
Okay. Well, I mean, it remains to be seen. We'll see on Sunday. I might be a sad Broncos fan or a happy Broncos fan. At least I'm not a Chargers fan.
Join the club.
And lastly, we got the Rams taking on the Boise State Broncos, who were knocked out of the top 25 by BYU on Saturday. Will they right the ship at home against CSU on Thursday?
All right, I'm going with your homer mentality. I'm going to go with CSU as well in this one. Because they came off that border war win, they have some momentum. I think that's what's going to carry them through this game.
Okay, well, I couldn't go this homer at all this time. Boise all the way. I can't remember the last time the Rams beat Boise. I mean, they're averaging 344 total yards on offense. Last time the Rams played them, they gave up 344 yards, and this is just about the same defense that the Rams fielded last year. The Rams also had no takeaways that game, but we gave up 2 INTs. And what decides football games more than anything else is turnover margin. Yes, the Rams had a great turnover margin this last game, but against a much better Boise State team and a much better Boise State offense, I'm sorry, but, as the Rams, I don't see them having any chance on Thursday.
So you're going to pick Boise this week. Okay, Interesting. Kind of surprised on that, especially because you just talked about Dante Wright being back in the mix, and you have Trey McBride, who is always clutch for the Rams. I mean, with Patrick O'Brien back in the lineup over Todd Centeio after their first loss, I think it's going to make a difference. And while Patrick O'Brien is less of a threat when scrambling and on the run at any point than Centeio is, he does have a very underrated arm in my eyes. He can get the pass to his wide receiver if he really needs to. Plus, if we're looking at this screen right now, if they're playing on this field, I don't know how anyone's going to be doing this because I cannot watch a game on this field whatsoever. I don't know how they even play on this game on this field. Absolutely. I mean, like the last the border war, those flashing lights were giving me a headache. Watching a game on the blue field would give me a headache as well.
Absolutely. In order for the Rams to win this game, everything has to go right. Dante Wright has to be clicking with Patty. Trey McBride has to be clicking with Patty. The whole offensive line has to be solid because Boise State, there's a reason Boise State has been the best team in the Mountain West for the past 5 or 6 years. It's because they are the best, and they're well coached, they're efficient. They got smacked by BYU, but BYU is also the ninth seed in the nation, and the Mountain West, frankly, does not really stack up against these big teams like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about last year in comparison to this year, and you talked about how the Rams definitely had a bigger turnover margin this past game, especially in the border war. And it is the same defense. I agree with that, but it's different because they have a new coaching staff and they have more momentum because of this last border war game, and you never know. They still played pretty much the same as they did the last border war game against Wyoming. They just had better defense and were more clutch than they were in the last year's game. So you never know. I mean, I didn't really honestly think that the Rams were going to win the border war, so we'll see. I picked them, and I still didn't even believe in myself. So seems to be the theme of every week, but it's fine. All right, well, Rams, that is all the time that we have for tonight. You can follow us at sports_CTV on Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all things CSU sports. I'm Rachel Hallam.
And I'm Ethan Bird. Tune in at the same time tomorrow night to get your weekly fantasy advice from Hunter Fillmore. Good night, Rams.